Have you ever been excited to implement a new feature in your application, only to be stopped in your tracks by an error message? It's frustrating, right? If that's you, then you're in the right place. Today, we're tackling the type error, firebase.messaging is not a function error in Node.js, and showing you exactly how to fix it. I completely understand how annoying it is when you're trying to fetch messages using Firebase, and instead, you get an error that halts your progress. You're definitely not alone in this. Many developers face this issue when working with Firebase in Node.js. Here's the specific situation we're looking at. One user recently asked, "Why am I getting the type error, firebase.messaging is not a function when trying to fetch FCM messages in Node.js?" They provided some code, and it seems like a common pitfall. Sound familiar? Sound familiar? Let's dig into this together and find a solution. So, what could be causing this error? The issue often arises from using the wrong Firebase SDK or not properly initializing the messaging service. We'll break it down step by step so you can understand what's going wrong. And don't go anywhere. I've got a pro tip at the end that will help you avoid this error in the future. To resolve the type error, the user should first ensure they are using the correct Firebase package. Instead of the Firebase package, they need to install the Firebase admin SDK for server-side applications. Next, the user should initialize the Firebase admin SDK instead of the regular Firebase package. This involves requiring the admin module and initializing it with the appropriate credentials. Now, the user can access the messaging service. They should use the admin.messaging method to send and receive messages. Finally, the user should test their implementation to ensure that messages are being sent and received correctly. This can be done by sending a test message to a valid device token. Did you know? Firebase was originally developed by a startup that was acquired by Google in 2014. It's come a long way since then, but even the best tools can have their hiccups. Now, let's look at the answers provided by other users. An alternative solution suggests that the firebase.messaging function is only applicable in the browser. Instead, you should require Firebase messaging for browser use. For Node.js, use admin.messaging to access the messaging service. For more guidance, check the full sample provided in the link to the Firebase Quick Start repository. That wraps up that answer. Let's move on to another one. An alternative solution suggests that the error occurs because firebase.messaging is not available in Node.js. Instead, you should use the Firebase admin package, which provides the necessary features for messaging. Let's take a moment to review another user's answer. An alternative solution provided by another user suggests using the React Native Firebase library. They recommend importing Firebase from @react-native-firebase/app and also importing @react-native-firebase/messaging. This allows you to access the messaging functionality correctly. Now, let's see a response from a different user. An alternative solution shared by another user involves how you import Firebase. They found that importing Firebase as @firebase/app caused the issue. Instead, they recommend importing it as style as Firebase from @firebase/app. This change allowed them to access messaging correctly using firebase.messaging. Here's the pro tip I promised. Always check the documentation for the latest updates on Firebase SDKs. This can save you from running into issues like this in the future. And there you have it. You should now be able to fetch FCM messages without encountering that pesky type error. Remember, keeping your SDKs updated is key. If you found this helpful, hit the subscribe button for more tips, and don't miss our bonus pro tip on Firebase best practices.